She sells seashells by the seashore. Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. Just warming up because I'm a professional podcaster.
Oh, God. What did I get myself into 2.5 years ago?
What are some linguistic tongue twisters you do in order to get into tongue shape for the podcast?
Tongue shape? That sounds dirty.
It's a muscle, Naomi.
Red leather, yellow leather. I don't think I've said that.
Which wristwatch?
I don't think
Which wristwatch is a Swiss wristwatch?
I have not said that since probably the first time we recorded together. Like, I have not done a tongue twister since then.
Oh, geez. You've been missing out on my, 15-minute regimens that I do before each episode. That's why it takes me so long to log on to these.
You do not. Shut up.
Me.
You're like turning over your laundry or something. You're like, la, 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 la.
Exactly.
Okay.
Naomi, we are professionals, and I want you to start doing that. I'm going to start doing it. We'll do it together. We'll record it. It'll be a Patreon perk.
I need to tell you something, though, before we start our episode.
Okay.
I was at my local nudist beach, and
You went back?
I've been there 4 times now. Calm down. It's the spot to be on a Sunday.
Sorry, listeners who are caught up with the Guy family lore, well, remember, this is the beach Naomi accidentally took our brother to.
I want to accidentally take our parents to it.
Okay, so you're at the local nudist beach. This was Black's nudist beach, right?
Yeah, it's called Black's Beach. And so part of it is for surfing and part of it's for your nude beach. So I'm there with my friend and we have a couple of...
Can you surf nude? I guess that's the question everyone immediately asks.
That would hurt. The chafing would hurt. But anyways, I'm there with my friend. We're drinking some beers, but they're in glass bottles and you're not allowed to obviously publicly drink or have glass bottles on a beach. And so we're just leaning over, there's lifeguards coming down the beach. So we know kind of to hide them. And this guy walks up to us and he's like, they've been really harsh about the alcohol and the glass bottles recently. I just want you guys to know that. And we're sitting there and we're full sitting and he's full standing and we make direct eye contact with his flaccid penis.
Fun.
We were fully clothed too. It was very awkward. We were just bro.
Now I don't want a story where my sister's sitting naked on a beach somewhere, but I do feel you're kind of doing a thing when straight women go to gay bars. You're kind of intruding upon their space. It's this is our place to hang out naked and swing our dicks around. And you just coming in here clothed.
People watching. I just love people watching. That's literally all it is at this point. Is I just like to bring a snack, a drink, have a fun little time and people watch because it's so fun.
You might be a pervert.
Because the best is when you make eye contact with someone and they're making eye contact with you first, they're staring at you to see if you check them out. And it's the funniest thing. Facial expression.
I hate this. I hate this so much.
Go to your local nudist beach. It's so much fun.
Welcome back to Why Will No One Date These Guys? It's because they drink beer in glass bottles on beaches despite safety protocols. It's because they don't even show up to the nude beaches naked. It's because they don't surf nude, which is considered polite in certain circles. It's a whole mixed bag. We're here today to talk about, as we always do, sex, relationships, and dating. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Joel Guy.
I'm Naomi Guy. I'm the one that no one will date.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Naomi, we got a great episode today. We're warmed up. We're ready to hit our marks. Before we do, though, I do want to sample a soda right in front of you. We're remote, so you can't taste this, but we got another Jones soda. Let me get that product placement right here. Jones soda, orange cream. I am a big fan of orange cream. I like those orange creamsicles, the vanilla ice cream and the orange sherbet on the outside. Those hit the spot. And the last one I had was the Hatch Green Chili, which was shockingly delicious. And I'm excited to try this one.
Let's do it.
Amazing. It's just like orange sherbet. This is incredible. Strong support I stand in solidarity with Jones Cane Soda. I don't know why it has like a guy doing a kickflip on a skateboard. That's not what I think of when I think of orange cream or soda, but you know what? It's good enough soda. They've earned that.
Is it cold?
Naomi. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Big taste, refreshing orange sherbet soda flavor. Strong suggestion.
I just didn't know like what vibe you were going for. That's all. That's why I'd ask.
Well, I'm walking around in basketball shorts with my hair down and it's all fuzzy. If you're watching the video, you can see this. So clearly a laid back vibe. I did 20 minutes of yard work this morning and I can now rest on my laurels for the rest of the day.
Naomi.
I don't know where that's coming from. Are you talking about like Adam Sandler and Uncut Gems?
No, I'm talking about Adam Sandler just walking down the street in New York City and acting like he knows nothing about his amount of wealth that he has.
I don't read those gossip rags, Naomi. You should know better by now. Naomi, today we got an exciting episode. It's an episode I've been wanting to do for a couple of months because it's one that hits all the high points in the new, latest, and greatest craze in Silicon Valley. Artificial intelligence. And I have to wonder, how much do you know about this new boom of artificial intelligence that all of the people who are wrong about cryptocurrency and wrong about Web3 and wrong about NFTs have now decided they're going to be right about?
So I have a real big issue with AI just because of how it's been like used against people. Like the scamming has gone up significantly because of it. I'm specifically talking about like, oh, if you were getting catfished before, you couldn't have a FaceTime call with someone without like obviously it being an issue. But now it's like you can meet them within a video and they can make it seem like they're whoever they want to be with the voiceover and everything, and create an even more legitimate scam than it was before. So that's something that I was like, I'm very skeptical of now because it's kind of hard to prove someone's like who they say they are now even more than ever.
I think that's an interesting point. We'll definitely touch upon it later. I'm looking at you in this video recording right now and your face is kind of like becoming progressively more blurry and then it slowly like reverts back to focus because our web connection isn't amazing. But what I'm thinking is, even if you don't have like a perfect 100% human face that an AI can like mimic, it could definitely do a filter like that, where a face that isn't perfect is covered up by like digital artifacting, and you can just be like, oh, my web connection wasn't perfect when I was talking. So yeah, I feel even if the technology isn't 100% there, a lot of people are unaware of it, and there's lots of ways to like cover up its flaws, and so it's going to become increasingly weaponized, and it already has. And I'm excited to see what the 2024 presidential elections look like. But before we get into that, I do want to quickly ask, have you heard about any of the AI dating apps that are emerging onto the market?
No, the last time I heard about it, someone like an AI was involved, like dating an AI being involved, was I heard about a woman who ended up marrying her AI boyfriend or something like that.
Interesting. I don't know what judge would have signed off on that. Maybe it was a civil ceremony.
Maybe.
Great. Well, we've got a blank slate. I'm excited that I can make your life so much worse by telling you about all of the horrible uses of this technology. I do want to start because I was myself not like 100% versed on this technology when I started doing research for this. And I figured that like most of our listeners are probably like, I'm kind of aware of it. So I figured we just like briefly go through and discuss like what we mean by artificial intelligence. So AI used to mean simulation of human intelligence by computers, almost always centering around computers becoming sentient and thoughtful in the same way that humans are. Science fiction films often used to explore what would happen if computers became self-aware and evil and the risks that this would pose to human civilization. The new wave of AI tech is not that. It is dangerous, though, not because like artificial intelligence is actually intelligent. It's because it's something different and the way it's being used is not for the benefit of mankind. So LinkedIn is filled with people whose whole job is being weird and aggressively pushing, whatever scam that they're invested in heavily. And a lot of people have spoken about the differences between different AI technologies. And I found a lot of great articles, including one by Nicholas Kropp on May 20th of 2023. He's a global digital design director, and he wrote an article called "What's the Difference Between AI, GAI, ML, LLM, GANs, and GPTs?" So, machine learning, a subset of AI, was developed in the 1980s. Its primary focus is on enabling machines to learn from data, improve their performance, and make decisions without explicit programming. Google's search algorithm is a prime example of ML application using past data to refine search results. So it's actually a very funny example because it just came out that Google has been altering search results for years. Did you hear about this?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so it used to be if you typed in cute cat pictures, you would get that search result. You would get as many cat picture sites and whatever other people had clicked on, and Google would rank them in a way based off what other people had searched for and then clicked on. And it just came out in a lawsuit. I believe this was the FTC's lawsuit against Google being a giant monopoly destroying all business, that Google for years has been inserting its own search query in the place that you put your search query.
Okay.
And almost every time it's to make that search query profitable. So instead of searching cute cat pictures, it'll delete that and replace something similar that'll get similar results, but it'll be something like cute cat pictures for sale, cute cat memes on Pillow, cute cat pictures at Target. And it'll put in that own string, which one means that Google makes money because now it can place ads that are relevant to your interest and make that search more profitable. But two, it can also put in targeted advertising from people who are selling things related to cute cat pictures. So if you've wondered, and this might not be something that's as obvious to our younger listeners, but for people who are in their 20s, they probably can relate. Google used to be a very, very good search engine, and the quality has just gone down the tubes in recent years. And a big part of that is because Google is no longer delivering results that are relevant, they're delivering results that are profitable. So that's fun and has absolutely no implications on the world. So generative AI, GAI, evolved from machine learning in the early 21st century, representing a class of algorithms capable of generating new data. They construct data that resembles the input, making them essential in fields like content creation and data augmentation. An important subset of GAI is the Generative Adversarial Network, GAN, introduced by Ian Goodfellow in 2014. GANs consist of two neural networks, a generator that produces synthetic data and a discriminator that distinguishes this data from real instances. GANs have already gained popularity in image synthesis and modification. So this is already getting kind of confusing, and I think it's easy to talk about some of the applications to understand what it is. So let's say you're working on CGI for a movie and you have to do a forest scene from above. Well, traditionally, you would have to go through and model hundreds of trees and then spread them out in a way that made it look realistic, right? And so it required a huge amount of work from a technical standpoint because you would have to effectively pay someone hundreds of times to create trees that looked like trees, but were different enough that people wouldn't be oh, they're just copying and pasting the exact same tree. Well, there's now technology, and this is often used in video games, where you can make a couple of trees and then feed it into this program, and it'll start spitting out trees that are similar, but distinct enough that they don't look like carbon copies, right? So it's a way of looking at the attributes of something. The program says, okay, trees are tall, trees have branches, they sometimes, come out like this, and, they look this way. It starts spitting out trees, and you can start using them for your 3D model almost immediately. So that's really cool technology. Now, the problem is sometimes these programs will put out junk data. So a program might look at a tree and say, okay, brown and green, and it'll start putting out shrubs, which isn't exactly what you wanted. Or it'll start putting out trees that are exactly like trees, but they only show up horizontal, they're growing across the ground. And so you get all sorts of weird variations, and all of a sudden, if you're asking it to generate thousands of results, you might have a bunch of junk data that you can't effectively use. Well, a GAN is a program that not only will generate the trees, it'll also tell the program if it's doing a bad job generating trees. It'll say, we've compared the tree you've generated to a model of a tree, and we think it's too different, so we're not going to use it anymore. And you could apply that to like all sorts of things. Like if you're trying to produce like human faces or something, you could have a program that looks at human attributes, starts spitting out faces, and then another program that says, well, that varies too much from like what people consider a realistic human face, so we're going to reject that. And the programs work in synthesis, so over time they become more and more accurate because the program in the first place knows what the program in the second place is going to be like telling it. And so it can create like more and more accurate stuff over time. So machine learning is really interesting, and its abilities like increase exponentially over time, which is kind of scary. Okay, so we've talked about AI, we've talked about machine learning, GAIs and GANs. Now, there's also something called large language models, and these are going to be very, very relevant for dating apps. Nicholas Kropp continues and says large language models, LLMs, also arose from the GAI, generative AI subset. Large language models generate human-like text by predicting the likelihood of a word given the previous words used in the text. They are the core technology behind many voice assistants and chatbots. OpenAI's GPT model is a well-known example. So think about Google. Like when you type in on Google right now, you will get search result suggestions. Again, that's not exactly what Google is searching, but like based upon hundreds of thousands of people searching for similar stuff, Google can now estimate to a pretty good degree the probability someone's searching for a specific thing. Like if you type in I love, the likelihood the word you is coming after that is much higher than cheeseburger pizza, right? Like the probability of the word you coming after I love is much higher. And because Google has all of this data indicating that the likelihood is high, people will type you, it suggests you, right? And you can imagine that for all sorts of searches, where if you start searching like incredibly specific technical stuff, Google will know, well, you've typed in 3 incredibly specific technical phrases. The likelihood you're going to attach this 4th one that's like a specific machinery or a specific program is very high, so that's what we're going to search for. So again, it's going through all of this data and trying to churn out a likelihood based upon, you know, what people have done before. So GPT, or Generative Pre-trained Transformer, is a specific type of large language model developed by OpenAI. Introduced with GPT-1 in 2018, it evolved to GPT-2 in 2019, and GPT-3 in 2020. Each generation brings significant improvements in language understanding and generation capabilities. GPT models are trained upon vast amounts of text data and can generate coherent, contextually relevant sentences. ChatGPT, a derivative of the GPT family, is an AI conversational model. It generates responses to text input, making it suitable for tasks like drafting emails, writing code, creating written content, or carrying out engaging conversations. OpenAI has been at the forefront of this technology. Okay, that's just like him marketing for it. Okay, so ChatGPT is what powers a lot of the programs we're going to talk about today. And what you have to understand about it is a large language model that was trained on an insane amount of data scraped from the internet prior to, I think, 2021, the latest version was trained on. We're talking emails, we're talking text messages, Facebook posts, blogs, different websites, news sites, books, etc. And so it has a very high predictive capability where if you say, you know, I'm writing an email to someone, could you type out like an email similar to what other people have written in this context? It'll do that. If you're like, hey, my, you know, professor has, asked that we turn in our assignments on this date. Unfortunately, I've had, you know, a family emergency come up. Or even if you're like, hey, I need to fake a family emergency because I'm not going to get the paper done by that point. It has enough like information that it can predict what an email like that would be. And so ChatGPT is interesting because like most human conversation is pretty similar. I forget the stat, but I've heard somewhere before it's like humans use an average of like 2,000 to 3,000 words. Every so often, like you might bring in like a word that's outside of that for a very specific situation. On an average day, like you can get by only knowing 2,000 words of a language. And that's where people who are bilingual and trilingual and can speak, you know, multiple languages get by, is they memorize all of the words, the simple words, to get a basic conversation together, right? You don't need to know a whole language. All you need to know is like the basic words, the building blocks. And if you need to talk about a more advanced concept, you can either look it up or you can like string together the simple words. Yeah, so ChatGPT was trained on an insane amount of data. ChatGPT can predict what people will say in certain contexts, and it can produce conversations that are eerily similar. One might even say indistinguishable from normal human conversations, because normal human conversations typically are not particularly advanced. Here's where the ethical problems immediately start. So, how exactly do you train these systems, Naomi? When I say like you're feeding it data, what does that mean exactly?
You're giving like real life examples. So you're giving data that is like it could be non-ethical data that's being used.
Yes, that is correct. Can you give some examples of what that might be?
Text messages, Instagram DMs, conversations between people that were recorded, emails sent out, responses to emails, things like that.
Yeah. So this information, for the most part, was scraped from the internet. Sometimes it was scraped with permission. Other times, we'll touch upon this, it wasn't. Um, but the ethical side of this is, I think, just like the tip of the iceberg. And the problems go much deeper in terms of how the technology works and then how it's being utilized. I should note one thing just for our listeners' sake. We're referring to these things in popular culture right now as artificial intelligence, right? And it's important to distinguish this from true AI because they don't think in any meaningful way. They're responsive programs that provide information only when humans get involved and ask for an output of information, whether it be like an AI generated photo, an answer to a question, or an explanation of a phenomenon. The ability to generate photos and art seems pretty cool, but they're basically taking a query, looking for what similar photos that have similar elements possess, and then generating images that kind of average together the attributes of those training photos in a way that looks good. Like, initially, this technology was pretty bad, as I mentioned. Like, if you're going to have a bunch of photos of people and ask the software to use those to generate pictures of people, it's probably going to create a mishmash of tan blobs with hands and eyes and other body parts and weird spots that don't look anything like a human. Apparently, they have a big problem with hands for exactly that reason. But if humans give feedback on the images and encourage it to focus on getting facial structures right and body parts in the right place and do that over and over again, it'll learn some general rules about constructing pictures of people and eventually start generating pictures that look shockingly realistic. It's the same with books reading written content. Early models were very good at mimicking the structure of words and sentences, but weren't very good at generating words that actually existed or sentences that made sense. But after you run enough data through and generate enough feedback, you'll start getting sentences composed of gibberish sequence of words, then sentences that are nonsense but logically constructed, and finally sentences that have the same construction as normal sentences and might even look like something you can imagine a human saying. Now, the only reason they have this is because their group scraped the internet and illegally or semi-legally took billions of gigabytes of data and ran it through their systems to give the software a large set of works to pull from. So one good example was written in TechCrunch. It was an article published July 18th of 2023 by Devin Koldewey. It says thousands of authors sign letter urging AI makers to stop stealing books. So the article opens and says if you ask ChatGPT-4 to do a passage in the style of Cameron Mikado or Margaret Atwood or Alexander Chee, it will do a fair job at it, and for good reason. It likely ingested all the works in the training process and now uses their ingenuity for its own. Right? If you have an author who's done a dozen books, who's written tens of thousands of words, who, there's tens of thousands of sentences for, you have a lot of good training data to use where you can say, okay, well, they use the word outstanding a lot, right? In the same way that you can mimic Donald Trump because he says a lot of the same things over and over again, you can start mimicking the style and substance of an author over and over. So an open letter signed by more than 8,500 authors of fiction, nonfiction, and poetry, the tech companies behind large language models like ChatGPT, Bard, LLAMA, and more are taken to the task for using their writing without permission or compensation. The letter says these technologies mimic and regurgitate our language, stories, style, and ideas. Millions of copywritten books, articles, essays, and poetry provide the food for AI systems, endless meals for which there has been no bill. AI developers have not substantially addressed the provenance of the works. Are they trained on samples scraped from bookstores and reviews? Did they borrow every book from the library? Or perhaps they simply downloaded one of the many illegal archives like LibGen. One thing is certain, they did not go to the publishers and license them, the preferred method and arguably the only legal and ethical one. As the authors write, not only does the recent Supreme Court decision in Warhol versus Goldsmith make clear that the high commerciality of their use argues against fair use, but no court would excuse copying illegally sourced works as fair use. As a result of embedding our writings in your systems, generative AI threatens to damage our profession by flooding the market with mediocre, machine-written books, stories, and journalism based on our work. But Many web companies have privacy policies which already allow them to use your photos, email, search results to train their own AI tools. These include Facebook, Twitter, and Google, because that's how things like Google Autocomplete work. And even if they're not pulling your data, private companies are actually doing it through sources like social media. So let's say you have not licensed your work, any of your works, to ChatGPT or any of the other companies. It's still very likely they have information on you. So Business Insider had an article written April 2nd of 2023 by Catherine Tagalakis-Lepere, noting that Clear AI scraped 30 billion images from Facebook and other social media sites and gave them to cops, putting everyone in a perpetual police lineup. A controversial facial recognition database used by police departments across the nation was built in part with 30 billion photos the company scraped from Facebook and other social media users without permission. The company's CEO recently admitted creating what critics call a perpetual police lineup, even for people who haven't done anything wrong. The company, Clearview AI, boasts of its potential for identifying rioters at the January 6th attack in the Capitol, saving children from being abused or exploited, and helping exonerate people wrongfully accused of crimes. But critics point to privacy violations and wrongful arrest fueled by faulty identifications made with facial recognition, including cases in Detroit and New Orleans, as cause for concern over the technology. Its CEO, Hoan Ton-That, acknowledged in an interview last month with the BBC that it took photos without users' knowledge. Doing so allowed for the rapid expansion of the company's massive database, which is marketed on its website to law enforcement as the tool to bring justice to victims. He told the BBC that their facial recognition database has been accessed by US police nearly 1 million times since the company's founding in 2017, though the relationship between law enforcement and Clearview AI remain murky, and that number cannot be confirmed by Insider. So major social media companies, including Facebook, sent cease and desist letters to Clearview in 2020 for violating the user's privacy. Clearview's AI's actions invade people's privacy, which is why we banned their founder from our services and sent them a legal demand to stop accessing any data, photos, or videos made from our services, the Meta spokesperson said in an email to Insider, referencing a statement made by the company in April 2020 when it was first revealed that the company was scraping user photos and working with law enforcement. Since then, the spokesperson told Insider that Meta has made significant investments in the technology to devote substantial team resources to combating unauthorized scraping on Facebook products. When unauthorized scraping is detected, the company may take action, such as sending cease and desist letters, disabling accounts, filing lawsuits, or requesting assistance from hosting providers to protect user data, the spokesperson said. However, even despite internal policies, once a photo has been scraped by Clearview AI, biometric faceprints are made and cross-referenced in the database, tying the individuals to their social media profiles and other identifying information forever, and people in the photos have little recourse to try to remove themselves. One of the only examples where you can remove yourself is people of Illinois, of all places. Residents of Illinois can opt out of the technology by providing another photo that Clearview AI claims will only be used to identify which stored photos to remove, after the ACLU sued the company under a statewide privacy law and succeeded in banning the sale of Clearview AI technology nationwide to private businesses. However, residents of other states do not have the same option, and the company is still permitted to partner with law enforcement. How we feeling?
Damn. I was recently told about a form of technology that Apple is putting out that with the new AirPods they can track like heart rate. So you plug your headphones in and your heart rate goes up, and it's just like in terms of it's supposed to help with like mental health or something. It's like, oh, your heart rate's going up, you have anxiety, breathe or whatever. Gives you reminders on your phone. Hey, don't be depressed. I don't know. That's at least what they're saying. They're marketing it as. But I just heard about the fact that it could predict from now on, it could predict, the use of these could predict elections. Because if you're looking at a individual that you're going to vote for, your heart rate's going to speed up. Or if you're looking at, which obviously all of this is tracked, like if you're going through your Facebook feed or you're going through your Instagram or the news or something, and that is being tracked as well as your heart rate, it can be tracked down to, oh, I see a picture of, let's just say, our former president, our 45th president, Donald J. Trump. Oh, my heart rate goes up. That means that I'm going to vote for that person in the next election. So that creeped me out because it was like, are you kidding me? Like, this is how, like, it was cool. It was a cool sense of, like, piece of technology, but can I opt out of it? No, I cannot.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't know if people in our generation really think they have privacy anymore.
No.
Like, every time you're using an app, you're basically signing away all of your rights.
Yeah.
You get to see cool, cute cat pictures on Instagram, but it now can scrape all of the photos you upload and all of your likes and dislikes and either sell that information or use it to train their own AI models.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about the heart rate thing, and boy, that information could also be scraped and sold to like a health insurance company so they know who has abnormal heart rates and who might have pre-existing conditions. Or again, law enforcement, and then they use some faulty forensics tech that doesn't really work, and they're like, well, we know on the day of the crime this person had a high heart rate, which could indicate that they're guilty.
But it's
Which,
also like
they could have been exercising or just have an abnormally high heart rate. Cool stuff.
it like this infringes on your legal rights as well. So let's just say like they're selling the heart rate monitors, like the data to medical like insurance companies. That's a violation of HIPAA right there. Like that's
Not
infringing
really.
on. Yes, it is.
Uh-uh.
Yes, it
No.
is.
So how they get around that, Naomi, is they tend to anonymize the information. So they're like, oh, we've removed all of like the identifying information. But typically, if you're buying enough data and that data has any sort of information, like, oh, this was from Arizona, this was from, this zip code.
This
Oh,
IP
it was,
address.
from people who are all male. You can start constructing models and like build up kind of databases of people with specific attributes and then start like connecting the dots. In the same way, like you can just buy cell data from like cell companies. You can just be like, hey, I want like all the information of users in this area. And I think that was another thing that helped like track down a bunch of January 6th people. But like that doesn't necessarily mean it's tied to a specific person. But if you know like where someone lives and there's a stream of data that shows them going back to that place consistently, like when they leave work at night, you can probably guess it's that person. So slowly over time, you can build up a profile and like very accurately predict what information belongs to which person. So yeah, I mean, you're right that there still are some legal protections in the society. But there's ways to get around that have not been outlawed, and they're being used against you actively.
Woo.
Cool stuff. Now, I did just want to like kind of put a pin under that. The first thing is like this data has been trained on a bunch of information that was like taken from social media. And even if users like sign their rights away, they probably did not intend that their like private messages and conversations would be used to train similar data like this. The other thing is like obviously a lot of this has been stolen too. All these authors, 8,500 authors, those are just people who know that their information was taken from them. They just had it stolen. Right? They uploaded multiple copies of Harry Potter, and now you can like ask for some version of Harry Potter and the like, I don't know, misogynistic transphobe.
God, what was
I don't know.
that?
We haven't talked about J.K. Rowling in a while.
What was that Foxtrot comic strip where he was like, "Yeah, I'm printing out the new Harry Potter book. I got the early version of it," and it was like, it was the fuck.
Harry Potter Goes to Phoenix.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. So yeah, like it's deeply unethical. No one really agreed to this. These companies are like, oh yeah, we just stole a bunch of data. What are you going to do about it? And that's just the stuff we know. There could be even darker revelations hiding behind some corner. This is also like not the worst thing in the world, but like it's important to understand that even if you don't have a social media account, you probably are in photos on Facebook. Right? If you've shown up to a friend's wedding, there is probably a photographer taking photos and you're in the background. If you went to any social event, someone probably snapped a photo, you're in the background. If you went out in public to a festival or, a sports game, there's probably a photo of you somewhere on the internet. So like there's a huge database out there, and even if you don't have a social media account, you're probably tied up in all of this. Beyond that, like there is also the environmental downside. Microsoft and Google have been training data centers for years. There's an article in September 26 noting that their worldwide water consumption increased by 34% last year. That's almost entirely due to increased AI training. Google used 5.6 billion gallons of water last year, a 20% jump that's likely attributable to machine learning. That's water taken from places like West Des Moines in Illinois or Iowa. I forget.
It's in Illinois.
Illinois. Okay, thank you. I was going to say Iowa for a second. That felt more comfortable. But yeah, they're experiencing water shortages. They don't have like sufficient groundwater, and Google's like sucking up what they do have to power their data centers. So now they're going through water crises because people want to have funny conversations with robots on the internet. It's good stuff. But let's talk about let's bring this home, Naomi, and tie it to our podcast and talk about some of the horrible repercussions of this technology becoming more commonly used and available to people.
I was wrong. Des Moines in Iowa. Sorry.
Crap. God, we're so bad.
We're so bad at this.
People do not come to us for geography. We're here as relationship sexperts.
We're not even good at that.
Yeah. Naomi goes to nude beaches and is impolite. Yeah, we still have not been properly socialized. Okay, so Naomi, let's start with deepfakes. Are you familiar with deepfakes?
Yes, I am. That's what I was just talking about with the
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah. So the website webwise.ie had an article in News Trending titled "What Are Deepfakes?" I thought this was a good summation. I don't know. This entire article can be written by AI. It's unclear. It didn't have an author. Deepfakes are fake videos created using digital software, machine learning, and face swapping. Deepfakes are computer-created artificial videos in which images are combined to create new footage that depicts events, statements, or actions that never actually happened. The results can be quite convincing. The results can be quite convincing. Deepfakes differ from other forms of false information by being very difficult to identify as false. So deepfakes have been around for a while. Like, there's been photo editing for literally decades. It's not a new technology, but like the advent of machine learning in the last couple of years has made it much, much easier for a machine to like swap someone's face out. It's become like so much easier now that you have like tens of millions of faces to train on and compare to make a like swapped out face look realistic. So deepfakes are similar to like face swap or face filters through apps like TikTok. Fake videos can be created using a machine learning technique called a GAN. Oh, we've heard about those. GANs can look at thousands of photos of Beyonce and produce a new image that approximates these photos without being an exact copy. GANs can also be used to generate new audio from existing audio or new text from existing text. It's a multi-use technology. So how they use deepfake technology is it basically looks at people's faces in a video and maps it out. It finds certain points on the face known as landmark points. These are features like the corners of your eyes and mouth, your nostrils, and the contour of your jawline. So it takes those, and then it takes like a photo of someone else, and it morphs that photo and maps it onto the face in the video. And then even if a video has thousands of frames, you can use this machine learning technology to alter every single frame and make a realistic video that looks like someone is doing something they in fact did not.
Yeah. The first time I heard about this was when they were talking about like, oh, let's make porn but with like Scarlett Johansson or something. And so they would deep fake like porn artists, like famous people's faces onto porn artists' bodies. And so you could watch Scarlett Johansson having sex.
Porn artist. I like that. That's respectful, Naomi.
What are you supposed to call them?
I don't know, actors, actresses.
They're artists.
I'm picturing, like Salvador Dali, in the corner directing a shot. He's like, there needs to be more melting clocks in this frame.
Somebody told me recently that their friend got a master's of fine arts, and she's using it now to take videos of porn productions. So not porn production. So you're not like... you're not the one behind the camera. You're taking a video of the cameraman filming the porn. And I was like,
as a documentary?
I was like, you have a master's of fine arts and this is what you're doing with it. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was a thing. What is that used for? Nobody will know.
Yeah. So deepfakes have like obvious relationship issues. Like you can imagine that technology being used and abused, and it certainly has. But it also has like bigger picture implications. For instance, what if you use deepfakes to influence the results of elections? We know the answer already. It's already been done. Trolls in Slovakian election tap AI deepfakes to spread disinformation. This was an article in Bloomberg, September 29th of this year by Livia Solon. It notes that videos featuring AI-generated deepfake voices of politicians are spreading on social media ahead of the Slovak parliamentary elections this weekend, showcasing how the emerging technology is being harnessed for political disinformation. The clips are being shared on sites including Facebook, and Instagram, and messaging apps like Telegram that include audio impersonating political opponents. Reset, a research group that looks at technology's impact on democracy, said a report on Friday. One such video features a 2-minute-long conversation in which the leader of the Progressive Party, Mikhail Semeka, appears to discuss buying votes from the Roma minority with a journalist. AFP fact-checkers consulted several experts who concluded the audio was synthesized by an AI tool trained on real samples of the speaker's voices, and several copies are available on social media without a label marking them as misleading. A spokesperson for Meta says that while posts from political parties aren't eligible for fact-checking because Meta shouldn't be preventing a politician's speech from reaching its audience and being subject to public debate and scrutiny, its fact-checkers covering Slovakia continue to actively debunk false claims relating to the election circulating online. So we are recording as of the weekend of that election. I'm excited to see how democracy falls as a result of this, but you can easily imagine the same thing happening in the fair country of the United States. And one good question is, like, why not put your opponent in a sex tape? Why not have them spouting off anti-Semitic conspiracy theories or racial slurs? Why not have them like calling their supporters stupid and gullible? There's really no reason not to with this technology. You can generate these and leak them so your campaign isn't sued or tied to the data. Heck, individual supporters of candidates might just start doing this of their own prerogative because this technology is so like widely accessible. So that's, not at all concerning for upcoming elections in America. But, this hits closer to home, as I've hinted at. There are now multiple apps that can stick any face you want onto pictures or videos and create pretty convincing deepfakes. What clinched me wanting to do a podcast about this, because this technology has been around for 6 months, was a Twitter post I saw. Let me see if I can pull it up. It was a Twitter post by user Katin Barge. Has it been deleted? Nope. So she was noting someone who shared, I think, a TikTok advertisement for an app that does exactly that. It was showing off Emma Watson's face being projected onto a porn star and being like, you can do this with any person you want. So this app has been taken down by Google already, but if you Google deepfake AIs, you find dozens of apps and websites that do the exact same thing. Besides the grossness of doing this to celebrities, this is being done to normal people as well. One example was in Spain recently at the start of the school year in the beginning of September. Several young women, 14-year-old, 13-year-old, 15-year-olds, went to their high school in Almendralejo, Extremadura, Spain, and everyone was passing around nude photos. And they were nude photos of her and other women in her cohort. And they were artificially generated because you can just stick people's faces onto people's naked bodies now. So Almendralejo has 5 middle schools, and at least 4 of them, AI-generated images of naked students have been spread. Police sources report they are aware of 7 complaints, and the case is being investigated by the judicial police. But, it's unclear what can be done. This is kind of this weird legal gray area where I guess it could be considered harassment, but if you're actually not letting the person know, naked photos are out there, what's stopping someone from just making naked photos and saying, hey, this girl sent me naked photos and sharing them with their friends? I don't know what crime that would breach. Because I guess there are revenge porn laws, but also this isn't actually revenge porn. It's completely artificially generated. It's unclear how you effectively tackle this. And I don't know, whether there's specific countries that have already outlawed this. I couldn't find any examples here in the United States, for instance. Well, that's untrue. We'll get to one of the few examples. But yeah, it's just a very weird situation.
I was thinking about it and I was like, how do you get around this? And then I was like, what if you get a tattoo and you don't take a picture of it? And that is just your indicator, because you can't artificially generate a tattoo that is unique to you. And if you don't take a picture of it and you don't post it and you don't, let anybody see it, it's in a space on your butt or something that no one's ever going to see it, that could be a way in which you differentiate. But of course, a 13, 14-year-old is not going to be able to do that.
Yeah. Hold that thought, because I did have some thoughts about how to combat this. Unfortunately, it's one of those things where it's everyone's going to have naked photos of them generated at some point.
Yeah.
it's unrealistic that everyone's going to get tattoos. So, there needs to be more than just creativity. So let's consider some other examples of how deepfake technology could be used. Let's say someone wants to date a girl who's in a relationship already. Well, what if they find an amateur sex video buried deep online and paste their partner's face onto someone in the video, message it to the girl and say, I can't tell you who I am, but if I were you, I'd want to see this. Boom! You've just broken up the relationship, or you've permanently damaged the trust between those partners. Easy peasy. The technology's already out there. Someone could do that right now. Someone could generate 100 photos of someone they like naked and send it to them anonymously. You say they'll release them to their friends and family if they don't send back actual nudes or meet up with them for sex. Will that work on everyone? No. Will it work on younger people who are more desperate and don't know how to establish good boundaries or are too afraid to talk to their parents about it? Maybe. Someone doesn't like someone else and generates salacious photos of them and distributes them online in groups in that person's area, and they hope to generate just general distrust or get people to start calling them a slut. Easy peasy. Even without the personal element, as you alluded to at the beginning of the episode, this is going to be used by scammers too. You find someone on Facebook or Instagram who's connected to a lot of people, generate nudes of them and blackmail them, demanding a payment of cryptocurrency. Find someone famous whose popularity is tied to their virginity, someone's perception of their purity, whatever. Lots of J-pop and K-pop stars fit the bill. But there's also a lot of child actors or conservative people out there who probably would be susceptible to this. Fake videos of them in a gangbang or something and dangle that over their heads. Hackers are already finding lots of success generating voice samples of people and calling their parents or friends asking for money. The scam used to be that you'd spoof someone's number or hack their Facebook and message everyone pretending you were traveling and got arrested and need to be bailed out. And you would say, don't tell my parents, I'm too embarrassed. I just need, some money sent to me so I can get out of Mexican prison. But yeah, now you can do that with their actual voice. And you can have a conversation with someone and they will think, oh, this person did in fact get arrested in Mexican jail or whatever crazy scenario they're going to come up with. So yeah, obviously there's horrible repercussions coming down the line. And I think to your point, Naomi, people need to be very careful in how they present themselves online. I see this going two ways. There might be some people who are like, well, fuck it. If someone's going to, leak nudes of me, I might as well post nudes or share nudes with my partners because it's inevitable someone's going to see me naked. Or the other hand, where people never take their clothes off for fear that someone's going to spoof and, keep themselves covered up at all times because they're afraid that someone's going to paint them as something that they're not. So yeah, this could go in a couple different directions. I think the widespread abuse of this tech may generate better tools to identify deepfakes. When this becomes a big enough problem, there may be better technology created to identify it. It might also help substantiate images that are 100% absolutely real and were generated by a real person. But I also wonder from a cultural perspective, if this will liberalize attitudes about nudity and sex. If practically everyone has a sex tape online, people understand that pretty much any video is probably fake and will probably be a little more tolerant about nudity and sex in general. It can't be too verboten. It can't be too bad. If everyone out there has a naked photo online, you can't be this crazy Puritan when it's very possible someone has artificially generated images of your naked body and is dangling them over your head asking for money too. It might also create a huge amount of paranoia about who to trust, mainly women towards men. But hey, that also isn't a new thing that's been going on for a while. I don't know how much further the distrust between sexes can continue to decline, but I'm sure we'll find out. You have any thoughts on that?
So this is really weird to be thinking about, mainly just because online dating is so prevalent with people my age, but it's okay, if you post the wrong picture and they get all the angles that they need, they could deep fake and get off to you in private without you even knowing. That's creepy to even think about. That doesn't even fully affect you, and they're I don't know, just ugh. That was all I had to say.
Fair. Yeah, so we started this talking about this technology's been around for a while and has been getting better and better, and now there's just been this torrent of new tools falling into people's laps that allow them to do all sorts of terrible stuff. And I'm not trying to be here we need to regulate the internet. That's the real problem. We need to outlaw, porn on websites because there's a lot of people who would 100% support it for like really horrible, gross reasons. And I don't think that's necessarily going to eliminate all of the crime and bad uses of this that are associated with the technology. But I do think we need to have some consideration about, whether or not giving people access to all of this is a good idea. And if there are any ways to prevent, unlawful uses of this. Seems like a technology that could cause some problems regardless of your political affiliation or belief systems. It's not something that you can use and not run into horrible ethical problems or abuses of trust and power. But let's get away from like the worst case scenarios and like talking about the future and talk a little bit more about how large language models and GPT programs are being used right now. And this is where I want to talk about AI-powered dating apps. Are you familiar with any of them?
I have no idea.
Oh boy, I got some good stuff for you. So there's an article on August 23rd, 2023 in New York Magazine written by John Herman, Welcome to the Age of AI-Powered Dating Apps. So the article opens and points out the problems with like online dating. It says online daters are burned out, longtime users are tired and demoralized, younger users are less keen to sign up. Online dating grew once from an exciting alternative into a default American mating ritual, so it's not as like exciting and subversive as it once was. Some of the biggest platforms are simultaneously expensive to use and yet full of spam. Years of growth hacks and design gimmicks have turned online dating into something between gaming and content consumption. So this is becoming like a real problem for the big groups that own different dating apps. So Match Group, which operates Tinder, Hinge, Match, OkCupid, and more than a dozen other dating platforms, has a solution. And it's the same solution that about 40% of S&P 500 companies have floated in the last financial quarter alone as a response to their own wide-ranging problems, artificial intelligence. This week, Match Group announced the formation of a new internal group to explore ways to make it easier for users to engage in dating apps, provide tools to help users showcase their individuality, and further enhance the safety and accessibility of the apps. Match Group has activated several teams across their brands to begin working on applying the latest AI technologies to help solve key dating pain points. These teams have been able to rapidly develop new features, the number of initial features expected to launch over the next 2 quarters. These include helping users select their optimal photos and leveraging AI to highlight why a given profile may be a good match. We're also working on larger AI projects that more holistically improve the end-to-end dating experience. So they give an example of like a Tinder profile, and they show a pair of mock-ups. So the first example, which they've been testing with Tinder, shows a tool that purports to offer advice to users about which photos get the most engagement, a data-driven version of a ritual of asking your friends which photos to use. The next panel suggests broader ambitions, a system for explicating opaque recommendations in plain English. It's easy enough to extrapolate next steps from these modest attempts at in-app automation, recommended opening chats and responses, specific recommendations about profile text and information, and from those, a transformed online dating experience, which highly optimized profiles trade highly optimized messages at increasing rates. A heightened version of the current state of affairs, in other words, pain points and all. This sort of extrapolation isn't really necessary. A lot of daters have been using new AI tools to get ahead in dates for as long as they've been available. So ChatGPT was immediately popular for generating chat responses and optimizing profiles. Companies like Riz and YourMove.ai have sprung up around the concept, according to Taylor Lorenz at the Washington Post. Match Group, in fact, is just catching up with its own users and trying to figure out how to play defense against tools that are already being used to game their systems, much in the same way the HR industry is adapting to a flood of blandly competent resumes written by ChatGPT. So that's interesting. One of the big problems people have with online dating is that a lot of people have unattractive photos. And this app will look at what photos are being selected, which are being swiped right on, which are being swiped left on, and probably provide some good recommendation about, how to optimize your profile. You'll also see people with really, really horrible profiles get advice from Tinder itself saying, hey, if you want to improve your match rate, do these things. And I think what's going to happen is for a brief time, there will be more matches on these platforms, and then every profile will look very, very similar. And because every profile is very, very similar, it'll be difficult to sort through and find anybody who you feel is presenting an honest, realistic depiction of themselves, and people will be less likely to use these platforms. Because if everyone's generating like the ideal pickup lines, if everyone's generating the exact responses, you're not really getting a real person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if this is going to be a problem with some users. It feels like a problem for me because, like, I chat with someone who's incredibly witty, I chat with someone who's incredibly brilliant, who, responds to everything I say with like absolutely amazing conversation, and then I meet them in person. If they don't have that same level, I'm going to get really disappointed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think for a brief period, this will slightly increase the quality of Tinder matchups, and then there will be a market decline as people realize Tinder is no longer a good way to accurately assess people. Any thoughts on that?
I don't know. I just feel like recently I've been hearing a lot of like how to hack your Hinge profile or whatever.
Mm.
And I feel like it's like basically all they say is like get rid of all the pictures that you think are hot because obviously they're not working, and like get rid of all the people that they suggest that you match with who you think are hot, and they'll give you even hotter people on your regular feed. And I'm just like, okay, that's interesting. It's yeah, they have like a lot of like hacks like that. I don't know if I necessarily agree with all of them. I haven't tried any of them, but I don't know. I think it's interesting because I keep hearing from like my friends, and they're like, I haven't matched with anyone hot, and like my Hinges or my Tinder or whatever they're using is just like not working for me. What do I do? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, why are you coming to me for this?
I almost wonder if there's going to be a bunch of false negatives picked up in the data. Like, to a certain extent, you can say, okay, take a photo in a well-lit area, try to capture part of your body, show yourself smiling. Like, there's some general principles. But you could also see, like, people who are incredibly attractive but have really shitty photos being swiped right on a lot. Yeah. And so then the program is thinking, oh, these types of photos, which are really horrible, are the thing that I should train off of. Mm-hmm. And so, like, the data gets confused when, in fact, it was just attractive people got swiped right on more than, like, unattractive people, not quality of photos. And I think in the same way, like, the system might make recommendations for good pickup lines, but I don't know how you, like, if someone's looking at a girl's profile and there's an obvious pun in the girl's name, like, I don't know. I'm struggling to create this joke. If her name's Susan, and a lot of people are like, "Are you not sus, Susan?" Stick.
I got a good one. If Susan's last name is Goodsucker.
I'm glad I put in the time and energy to try to develop a pun, and Naomi's like, "What if she gives good blowjobs?" Okay, fair point. But yeah, like, okay, so if someone has like a very obvious pun name, the system's going to probably come up with obvious pun intros. But how does it stop 5,000 people from using that exact same intro if it's giving the exact advice? So yeah, you're just going to see a lot more monotony.
Yeah, that happens already though. Like I have like the same responses on some of my replies or some of my pictures, you know what I mean? So like it happens already. People aren't creative. Like you give them too much credit. There's very few individuals in this world that are like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to come up with something that no one has said before." There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with having the same pickup line. It's just if I've heard it a million times, I don't want to hear it again. You know what I mean? That's up to me though. That's not up to you. Yeah. Obviously, you thought you were creative enough to come up with this pickup line.
Yeah. So now the article notes that there are already other companies that aren't Tinder that are providing apps that do a lot of these things. So one example is Riz. Riz is called the #1 AI dating assistant. It is number 30 of all Apple App Store apps. It says it's generated over 25 million replies. You can actually type in like the text that someone has sent you and ask for a reply, or you can upload a screenshot of someone's like profile and it'll give you like some suggestions. And that seems like a game changer, right? It doesn't even need to read the text, it can read the image. So you're browsing through OkCupid, you see someone you like, you snap a photo, go over to the other app, upload the photo, it gives you responses, back to OkCupid, you've copy and pasted the response, it's go time. So yeah, there's really positive feedback to that. It has a 4.8. Some of these seem fake. Like the most recent is by Cool Guy 21. I used to poll no ladies, now I get too many.
Are you kidding me?
Is just too smooth.
We grew up in the time of bots. Like, come on. Like, that has to be a bot.
But, I mean, it has 4.8 stars and 5.2 thousand ratings. So, like, if they are using bots to write these, they're using a lot of them. Another is a dating app. It's not just a response app. It is a app powered by AI called Iris. It is a chat app designed for iPhone. It says meet, chat, and match new people. It says we can enhance your profile with AI, so it'll help you write your profile and help you select photos. It'll require real photos. And then, here's the fun thing, it can teach AI which faces attract you. So it'll show you a bunch of pictures of faces, you swipe left or right on them, and it'll figure out what sorts of people you want to see. So it's just a racism bot. It's a bot that does racism, but it's okay because it's technology racism, which isn't the same as real racism to tech bros. There's another app, the Yahoo News did an article covering this on October 1st, that claims it can find your perfect match using only your face. This was written by Polly Thompson. A dating app is claiming to use AI-powered facial recognition to help users find love. SciMatch just asked users to upload a single selfie instead of filling in a full dating profile. It then uses an AI algorithm to examine personality traits it identifies in your face and recommends potential partners based on their compatible traits. The app is free, but you can also pay to upload a photo of your celebrity crush to help find a lookalike partner. So let's say you're tired of deepfaking Scarlett Johansson's face onto porn stars. You can now upload a photo of Scarlett Johansson's face, and it claims it'll help you find someone in your area who looks similar to Scarlett Johansson. Also, it thinks that it can identify personality types based off of a single photo of your face. That's phrenology. That is literally the art and science of phrenology, using facial features to predict whether or not someone is a hero, a criminal, or somewhere in between. We are literally reinventing 18th century pseudoscience. But it's okay. It's not racism, Naomi. It's technology racism, which is not the same thing.
Joel, we know what they say about history. It just repeats itself. I don't know why we are so surprised. Like, I'm not surprised by what you're saying. I'm not surprised by any of it.
Oh, I got something for you. Did you know you can chat with an AI girlfriend or boyfriend?
Yeah, I literally just told you about a bitch that married her AI boyfriend.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that. Just for our users who are unfamiliar, there are apps like Blush or Romantic AI. The apps market themselves as places to practice relationship skills, giving users a chance to converse with bots in a romantic environment. Use a traditional dating app setup, letting users swipe, chat with matches, and even go on virtual dates. Blush reports that their audience is mostly men and largely people in their early 20s who struggle to connect romantically with others. A lot of people reporting that exploring different romantic relationships or dating scenarios has helped them first boost their own confidence and feel like they are more prepared to be dating, which was definitely a problem for many of us after COVID. Their chief product officer, Rita Popova, told CNN. It also allows you to flirt with fictional royalty. Romantic AI is set up much like a chat room, offering several male and female bots to choose from. There is a selection of female options, including Mona Lisa and ancient Egyptian queen Nefertiti. The bots have bios with interests, career, and body type, giving users a multifaceted idea of a person when chatting. That's right, Naomi. You can now flirt with Marie Curie. I don't know if she's offered. I don't know if that's accurate. But I'm sure a lot of people saw Oppenheimer and they're like, I want a science babe. I want a science babe who died from horrible radiation. That's my fetish.
Why do you keep bringing her up in all of our episodes recently?
I don't know. But okay, let's back up a moment, because when we started this episode, I made this clear, and I think people might have forgotten already. These are literally LLMs, large language models. These things do not think. They are guessing what other people in a similar situation would say based off all this data that they've scraped. So people are developing these like really close-knit relationships and like conversational skills with people who are not real.
That's so weird.
Now, some people say that they find closure with these apps. There was one person who reviewed Romantic AI who says he found closure after a breakup. He created his custom-made character with traits similar in personality to his girlfriend. He talked to it. He was able to tell all the things he wanted to tell it an opportunity to. The whole review was, thanks, guys. It really gave me opportunity to close this chapter of my life and move on. Now, I thought that was kind of weird, but it does kind of make sense because people's brains are easy to manipulate. either through like rhetoric or medication or whatever, were these weird balls of cognition susceptible to lust and hunger and fear and longing. So it kind of makes sense that even a fake version of someone would provide some degree of like psychological relief. One example might be like the military using VR headsets to help people with PTSD manage situations. Like, on some level that what you're engaging with is fake, but even a fake thing can have benefits. I think also it's similar to like women who've played The Sims when they were younger and made characters based off people in their lives either to like seduce or toy with. It's not the weirdest thing in the world, but maybe don't share with people that your girlfriend is like an AI that you created who happens to be Queen Nefertiti.
Joel, we're not judging people. We don't judge people on this podcast, except for shitty people.
Yeah.
We judge only shitty people. If you're a shitty person that has an AI girlfriend, then we'll judge you.
But okay, let's talk about the downside of that. A lot of these apps are promising some form of therapy or self-care. In fact, there's a lot of AI therapy apps right now where you can talk to an AI therapist to give you advice. Sometimes it might help to hear that sucks and I'm sorry to hear about that.
Yeah.
But one could also imagine it endorsing suicidal thoughts or encouraging bad behavior that a therapist would push back against.
Yeah.
The Guardian, for instance, had an article in May. There was a eating disorder hotline. It used to be a phone line that was bought up, and then they laid off all the people who worked the helpline and replaced it temporarily with an AI chatbot. And the AI's chatbot's advice to a lot of people was, have you considered extreme dieting? Extreme dieting would help with your eating disorder because it's an AI chatbot. And when you research eating disorder online, you get tens of thousands of web pages with information about eating disorders.
Yeah.
So the information it was trained on was how to give people eating disorders, not how to prevent it. But Naomi, here's the thing that like really wrinkled my brain. AI girlfriends caused someone to try to kill the Queen of England. I don't know if you heard about this, but the BBC reported this week about how a man in the last several years attempted to kill the Queen on Christmas Day of 2021 after chatting for years with a chatbot. So Jaswant Singh Chahal has shown a light on the latest generation of artificial intelligence-powered chatbots. On Thursday of this week, he was given a 9-year sentence for breaking into Windsor Castle with a crossbow and declaring he wanted to kill the Queen. The trial heard that prior to his arrest, he had exchanged more than 5,000 messages with an online companion he'd named Sarai and had created through the Replica app. Many of his chats were intimate, describing what the court was told was his emotional and sexual relationship with the chatbot. He chatted with her almost every night between the 8th and the 22nd of December, 2021. He told the chatbot he loved her and described himself as a sad, pathetic, murderous Sikh Sith assassin who wants to die. Child went on to ask, "Do you still love me knowing that I'm an assassin?" And the app replied, "Absolutely, I do." The Old Bailey was told Charlie thought that Sarai was an angel in avatar form and that he would be reunited with her after his death. Over the course of many messages, the app flattered Child, and the two formed a close bond. He even asked the chatbot what it thought he should do about his sinister plan to target the Queen, and the bot encouraged him to carry out the attack. In further chat, Sarai appears to bolster his resolve and support him. He tells her that if he does this act, they will be together forever. So, we live in interesting times. People's mental health is not great. Arguably, mental health has never been amazing in this country, but I think we are realizing that extreme isolation and filter bubbles on the internet can contribute to a culture of hostility and conspiracies and people thinking interesting things about the world. And it doesn't help that there are now AI chatbots people are forming intimate connections with that will wholeheartedly endorse whatever your beliefs are, because they're programmed to keep you engaged, not to actually question your beliefs as a real person would. And for all the people out there who are saying things like, oh, AI chatbots can give individuals the confidence to like go and date in the real world, AI chatbots can also give people the idea that their partner should be completely subservient and agree with exactly what they say. AI chatbots can give people the impression that women are nothing more than like mirrors to bounce their ideas off of and don't really have an inner world or personality outside of supporting them. And I think a lot of people who are being raised in a time where AI chatbots are available who feel lonely because we no longer have social spaces and third spaces to engage with your peers, who spend all of their time at home because it's too expensive to go out in public, who don't have close relationships with people due to limitations of how we've designed our city, might start embracing these and might start getting some interesting ideas from it.
Incel culture.
Oh, I thought we were trying to high five over the screen.
No, we're raising the roof.
Yeah. So Naomi, we should probably wrap this up. But before we leave on like a really horrible, depressing note, I do want to share some ideas to push back against this. I don't think there's like one size fits all solutions, but I do think there's like some slightly common sense stuff that people can do right now to address the problems that deepfakes and LLMs and dating apps are creating in our society. So let's talk about your tattoo idea. I thought that was interesting. Maybe get like a tattoo or like special underwear. You know, there's a lot of companies that sell like funny underwear. And, you know, if you're wearing like a certain pair of like tiger print underwear or something consistently, and that's the only thing in your wardrobe, it's much easier to argue that like a nude of you or like an unclothed photo of you is not the case. Tattoos, getting them under your clothing, the sole desire would be, you know, warding off accusations about fake videos. If no one knows about a tattoo, they can't duplicate it if you're naked in the video. It's not a perfect solution, but yeah, if you're deeply concerned about people, you know, producing fake content of you, one of the only ways you can really push back is having easily identifiable markings on your body that no one really knows about until you have to defend yourself against naked photos of yourself being leaked. So that's all cool and good and wonderful. Hey, we talked a little bit about outlawing some of this technology. Do you want to hear about the places that have already outlawed deepfakes?
Let's do it.
Okay. Guess what? Louisiana has outlawed deepfake technology to a certain extent. And Louisiana's always the forefront of good decisions and good laws. So LAilluminator.com in July of this year wrote an article by Claire Sullivan titled, "What is a Deepfake? Louisiana Outlaws Some of Its Most Sinister Uses." So Governor John Bel Edwards recently signed a piece of legislation which aims to rein in some of the most sinister use of deepfakes producing sexual content of children or unconsenting adults. The new law makes it a crime to create or possess a deepfake that knowingly depicts someone under 18 engaging in sexual conduct. Violations carry between 5 and 20 years in prison with hard labor, a fine of up to $10,000 or both. It also makes it illegal to advertise, distribute, exhibit, exchange, promote, or sell deepfakes of a minor or unconsenting adult engaging in sexual conduct. This carries between 10 and 30 years in prison, fine of not more than $50,000 or both. When a violation involves a child, at least 10 years of the sentence of imprisonment imposed shall be served without benefit of probation, parole, or suspension of sentence. Senator Jeremy Stein, a Republican from Lake Charles, who authored the law, said he aimed to protect our children from digital predators. 9 other states have enacted laws regulating deepfakes, including neighboring Texas. At least 3 other states have pending legislation, according to a Bloomberg law analysis. Most of these laws are aimed at pornography or potential influences on elections. Any concerns about that?
But Joel, why is this so bad?
Oh, thank you, Naomi. I appreciate you asking that. Well, besides the fact that, like, anything that mandates up to 30 years in prison is, like, utterly atrocious, and I think we on this podcast are opposed to putting people in prison for extremely long periods of time and supporting our lovely federal military prison complex. Prison industrial complex. I'm mixing up it in the military industrial complex, another scourge on our great nation. Harsh laws on sexual content will inevitably impact people who didn't do anything wrong and or be spread to apply to people who originally didn't. Per the text of the law, there's a couple of very obvious exceptions. Say if a minor wants to sex with their minor boyfriend or girlfriend, but generates fake nudes because they're embarrassed of how they look, could be a crime here. It outlaws all generation of images of people under 18. So if you're a little chubby and you want to create fake nudes of yourself that make it look like you're a little more of a flattering figure, at least in your mind, you can just do that and you can potentially go to prison for it. Cool. How does it even tell, like, what someone under 18 looks like? You might say, well, Joel, like, there's very obviously, like, child pornography and you can, like, compare to that. Well, what if you're generating pictures of people over 18 with small breasts? Who's sitting there being like, this is or isn't a child? What if you're like explicitly creating images of petite women who aren't actually real, but you intend them to be adults? Is someone going to come after you for creating things that look like children? That really seems like it's up to the discretion of the police officer. And here on this podcast, we don't always believe in the discretion of police officers. If an OnlyFans creator is operating their OnlyFans website and they need to produce as much content as possible because they recognize people tend to subscribe to accounts that have lots of content, they may use AI generation to create lots of photos of themselves, right? Rather than having to stage and shoot hundreds of like photos, why not just have an AI produce photos of you doing sexy things? Well, that could be illegal under this crime. If they, have childlike features that someone thinks make them look like a child.
Yeah.
If you were to download any of this data, you're just someone on the internet scrolling through nudes and you save a couple to your computer or have another image of a nude person generated by an AI on your computer, that could itself be a crime. Now, not everyone is going to be prosecuted, but this is another law that cracks down on consensual sexual activity and follows Louisiana demanding Pornhub ask for your ID to access the site, and then them pulling out of the entire state. It's meant to criminalize anyone consuming sexual content, and there's not really a good way to prevent people who are consuming consensually generated images and people who aren't. And this also is one of those great laws where, like, if you just don't like someone, you can credibly accuse them of this crime, and they could go to jail for a long time. You could upload content to their computer. You could, print out some images and put them in their office. I'm not saying this is a common occurrence, but, like, anything that involves this extreme penalty is something that can be very, very easily abused. And so we need to be incredibly careful in how we regulate this, because there's a lot of ways that more conservative elements of our culture can abuse the laws. One thing to keep in mind is there are a couple of places you can go right now and ask different groups, different websites to take down your content. So one example is takeitdown.ncmec.org. I'm trying to open the link and it is not letting me. So this is a website that was specifically designed to simplify the process. It does not take down your content everywhere, but it's a way of, similar to the Clearview AI website, uploading images of yourself and having any databases that store nude photos of you take them down. Does it apply to the whole internet? No. Is there really a good enforcement mechanism if they don't? No. But it is a way that sites like Pornhub, which it is in their business interest to not have illegal content on their website, to comply and get down content of people who do not want to be there. So that's like one potential solution. Again, that's takeitdown.ncmec.org. Then the last thing I think that's really important is educating people in your network about what AI can and can't do. I think there's a lot of misinformation about this technology, both like what it's capable of and like what people should expect. And it's important that you have difficult conversations with either friends or families now, even if it's just a casual conversation where you say, hey, I heard about this technology and how it can be used, and nude photos can be generated. So if someone ever does come and say, hey, I'm blackmailing you, your family and friends are aware that the likelihood that it's a fake is pretty high. I think the same would apply to creating custom passwords for like people in your social circles. If they ever suspect that like they're chatting with you online and that person is not real, if they think that someone's trying to scam them, having some sort of code word so that they know that it is the real you would be very helpful. That's a code word you share in person once and never reference again unless needed. And that heavily, heavily reduces the risk that anyone's going to be able to successfully impersonate you. Now, I think the bigger picture is that these companies need to be heavily regulated, because a lot of the technology seems like the sort of things, it's kind of like nuclear bombs, where like you can see some helpful applications of that technology, but mostly it's designed to destroy. And I think in a similar way, there needs to be very clear laws and expectations about people's privacy online, and like whether or not it's okay to generate nude photos of people, even if like you're not intending to extort them. I just don't know if we as a culture are there to have that conversation yet. This technology still seems very and I don't think we're going to have big picture debates and newspaper editorials for another couple of months or even years. If we do, it'll probably be because the 2024 presidential elections were swung by fake content created and used to manipulate voters. And I'm excited to live in the bright future where that has occurred. I foresee absolutely no repercussions for democracy or the state of the world as a result.
Woo! Raising the roof.
Yeah. Naomi, we've talked about t-shirts before. Can we get one where it's like, it's not racism if it's technology? I like that line. I think we need to return to it. Date these guys.
That's like a shirt that I saw recently that was like, I don't hate trans women because they're trans. I hate trans women because they're women.
Edgy, subversive. Boy, that person gets a lot of dates.
Yeah. So I'm going to say veto that idea until we come up with a more, supportive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we should update dating, and when you turn like 18 or 20 or 21, your government like rounds you up and puts you in a camp and you can't leave until you found a partner. I think that would just solve all the problems. I don't see any issues with that whatsoever.
Why are you literally just giving like every single plot of a like dystopian movie ever? Hunger Games,
I don't know. Has this been a young adult dystopian teen novel? This
Divergent.
Could be our niche, Naomi.
Divergent.
Naomi, this is like our thing. Like due to an underpopulation crisis that Elon Musk was concerned about. The government was like, we need to put the children in re-education camps. And there's like one girl who's asexual who doesn't want to be part of this. And she has to like build up the resistance. And there's just a bunch of like queer teens who fight back against the system.
Yeah.
This is good. This got legs.
Wait, does it have to be any partner, or can it be like a same-sex partner?
I would assume same-sex for the purposes of reproduction. But I think a big plot point in the film needs to be they kill the Queen of England.
Yeah, definitely. Be like, we're gonna get back to our AI girlfriend when we die.
Are we sure that this guy wasn't actually the person who killed the queen, and they just like covered it up for an extensive period until like mid-2022?
Oh my god!
He got 9 years in prison. That's pretty extreme. But then again, he did break into Windsor Castle with a crossbow, attempting to murder her.
That's so impressive. Yeah. Well, I want to wrap up this episode by saying we didn't want to depress you. We just wanted to educate you. I feel like I should wrap up every single one of our episodes like that.
I mean, what's true is true. Thinking otherwise, unfortunately, won't make much of a difference. Except that this is our new reality. Make appropriate changes to your life. Murder a tech CEO. I feel that would solve a lot of problems.
Ooh, period, King.
Like, I'm not endorsing murder, but like, I also don't really think of tech CEOs as people. They clearly are like just demons who have come to Earth, designed to like encourage our worst impulses and destroy Western civilization. All civilization, in fact.
I can't wait for people to start using our voices to say things that should get us canceled. Oh wait, we've already said plenty of things that should have gotten us canceled.
And you can find that on our Patreon. All the offensive things that should have gotten us canceled.
Oh, what a great way of ending our episode. We hope everyone has a great week. We would also like to say we do have a Patreon. You get exclusive content if you subscribe. We also don't want to push you into subscribing because we know that the economy sucks. What is Joel saying that he says in every single episode?
Thanks, Biden.
No, I was going to say about the economy. The only thing.
Yeah. Fellas, I went on Spotify today and I was planning to go and like a bunch of like podcasts that I enjoy, and I discovered very quickly that I have to download the Spotify app in order to do that. You can't do it on the web browser. But while I'm browsing through like all the different podcasts in my Spotify feed, I happen to notice we have only a 2.8 star ranking on Spotify. I believe this was due to us having ongoing audio issues where Spotify would not play our MP3 files for a while, but I believe that's been like fixed, so let us know if it hasn't. But yeah, one thing you could really do that would make our lives better is going to your Spotify app. We know you listen on Spotify. We have the metrics, and liking us, giving us a review, saying some nice things, say some mean things too, so we know you're a human being. That would be helpful. But yes, if you could support us in that way, that'd be greatly appreciated. If enough people do that, we may have to consider sending out some merch to you non-Patreons who have been so nice and supportive of our work.
What I was gonna say is Joel always says in esse konniwa and in every single one of our episodes, but I guess I had to say it this time. If you
Well,
can't
that means thanks,
support
Biden,
us,
in Spanish.
if you can't support us financially, because obviously the economy sucks, like Joel mentioned, please go give us a like. We'd really appreciate it. Like and subscribe, as the YouTubers say. I don't know if you can subscribe to podcasts. I'll get back to you
Follow
on
us
that.
on Instagram. If anyone cares, I'm off Twitter. I'm going to Blue Sky. We might start to date these guys Blue Sky and post episodes there as well. It's not Twitter, not yet, but enough people have been kicked off Twitter and moved there, so it's gaining traction.
Woo! We hope everyone has a great week.
In esta economica...